What are these metal and stone remnants out in the Maine northern wilderness? Well, come to find out, these remnants are actually all that is left of the Katahdin Iron Works, which used to look like this. The area in which the ironworks were developed was remained untouched until about 1820, when surveyors entered the area and found a large quantity of iron. This iron was actually used as dyes by the local Native American population due to the different colors that it gave off, such as red, orange, and yellow. This then resulted in a road being built in 1841 from the giant mound of iron to the nearest town. A company town was then formed by Dominicus Parker, Edward Smith, Simon Green, and Samuel Smith. They created a company town in the name of the Maine Iron Works. This town housed about 200 families and had a multitude of things such as a post office, a schoolhouse, a sawmill, and multiple other stores and businesses. The stonemasons then got to work building a 55-foot tall blast furnace which could produce about 18 to 20 tons of pig iron every day. They also built 18 beehive kilns, which converted wood into charcoal for easier and longer burning. Eventually, it became very expensive to run such a large operation out in the middle of nowhere, and as the pig iron market slowed down, the four businessmen who was headed by Samuel Smith was forced to sell the business to David Pingree. Pingree was faced with the same issues as the four businessmen before him, and as a result, tried to break into the wrought iron market with a build of a new puddling facility at the ironworks. Unfortunately, the wrought iron business wasn't very good either, which actually caused the ironworks to close in 1857. Now, this would seem like the end of our story, but there is one very important historical event which was coming up on the horizon for the American economy: the Civil War. This caused the ironworks to relight up in 1864. 1864 also coincided with the death of the then president, David Pingree. This caused a group of Bangor businessmen to take it over, turning it into an all-new venture on its own. This company, called a Piscataqua Iron Works Company, was more focused on tourism in the area and tried to make it more of a hot spot for well-to-do people and any regular traveler to come and visit out into the Maine wilderness. The ironworks were shuttered during this time, 1876, which was not a good idea as they never actually reopened the whole time that Piscataqua owned the area, as they focused more on tourism and not what made this area great in the first place. This resulted in Owen Davis Jr., who was a member of the Katahdin Iron Works Company, to request the land from Piscataqua and take over the ironworks, and by 1880, the ironworks were back in full bloom. He made many improvements to the way the iron was made and raised the quality of the iron as a whole, as well as finally getting the railroad built in 1881 from the ironworks to the nearest city, which was failed by the previous owners. Unfortunately, the success did not last long, as in 1882, a hurricane hit Maine and caused sparks from the charcoal kilns to ignite the main ironworks building, setting it ablaze and burning it almost completely to the ground. This resulted in Owen Davis Jr. having to spend 5 years to replace the ironworks and rebuild it back to its former glory. Once it was back up, it started building cruiser engines for the U.S. Navy and higher-grade railroad pieces for the different railroads across the country. But in 1888, a controlling interest was bought in the company by other business members, and Owen Davis Jr. was just left on as a general manager. Soon after, in 1890, the ironworks finally closed for good, as they could no longer keep up with the growing market of steel and other interests across the country. The hotel, which had been built by Piscataqua, ended up actually burning down in 1913, which further just drove everyone away from this area. That, coupled with the train service being discontinued in 1922 and the rails being removed in 1933, this effectively sealed off the town from the rest of the state, which caused it to quickly dissipate into almost nothing. In 1927, the General Chemical Company bought the land for the sulfur in the ground, and in 1952, they bought it outright. The one remaining blast furnace and charcoal kiln were donated to the state of Maine in 1968. In the summer of 2021, I myself visited these once great ironworks to see what was left. The blast furnace, the once beating heart of the city, was now silent. I could even peek my head in and look up and see sunlight streaming down through the opening in the top. I also took a walk over to the one last charcoal kiln that was left, which was boarded up and I could not get inside. But all that I found from these once titans of industry for this area were just butterflies. These butterflies had now made a home inside of these ruins and were living quite comfortably and were not afraid of me. I was able to take some pretty close pictures of them. They were quite a sight to see. I was able to identify these butterflies as the eastern tiger swallowtail, which was native to this region. This concludes the rise and fall of the Northern Katahdin Iron Works and what now remains today. I hope you all stay healthy and curious as we continue to look into the forgotten parts of American history and see what remains today.